Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, February, I believe, 3rd. My calendar's not up like it normally is. Yeah, today's Wednesday, February 3rd. This is the Duron Coles Morning Show. Welcome to any new viewers with your host himself, Duron Coles. You can follow me on any social media platforms at the Duron Coles, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you got. So, to dive right in, today I want to talk about the big news that we got slapped with yesterday. So, the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, is stepping down as the CEO of Amazon. And that is huge news. Do I think too much will change with Amazon? No. But what I do think will change is a lot of other things in the world. When the richest man in the world steps down, has all this money to do whatever he wants with that money, a lot of things are going to change. So, what I want to focus on today is not only just talking about how Amazon is going to change, but how is the world going to change and the way that we look at things that are valuable. And that all makes sense a little later. So let's just dive right into it. Before we start, let me take a drink so I can keep on rambling. All right, let's get into it. So, Jeff Bezos stepping down. Why does that even matter, and why is it so important? Well, first and foremost, let's take a step back and look at the position of CEOs. If you look at not even a long history, but if you look at how companies progress, the way that the CEO chooses to run the company, or the effect that the CEO has on the company is very, 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 very important. And that's not just Jeff Bezos. You can look at Bob Iger with Disney. They've brought him out of retirement twice. Bob Iger is the sole reason that Disney has become the conglomerate it has, owning Fox and Hulu and Star Wars and anything else that you can think of. That's because of Bob Iger. And he retired after they got Marvel, and after they got things up and running with that, he retired, and then they brought him back. And then he retired again, and then they brought him back. So he said he's retiring in 2022, and don't ask him to come back. So we're going to have this conversation all over again next year. But not only him, Steve Jobs with Apple, after they kicked him off. He didn't even step down. They said he was acting crazy, so they kicked Steve Jobs off. And you see Apple went downhill, and then they had to bring him back. And then that's when releases like the iPod and the iPad came out, and the iPhone. And then, unfortunately, he died. And I don't think anyone can argue that Apple has only gone downhill from there. They've only made micro, adjustments to their technologies, whereas Steve Jobs wasn't having that. He said we need to be the forefront in innovation and not just trying to make money. So, now to get to Jeff Bezos, how is his successor going to run the company? Because Jeff Bezos started the company in the 90s from $0. If you don't know Jeff Bezos' story, he was working, I don't know exactly where, but he was working somewhere else before, climbing through the ranks. He was the youngest to get to this position, this position, this position. Eventually, he became like vice president or president at like 23, 24 years old of this company, or this section of this company. And his main job was to come up with new technologies, or come up with new things, or think of new things that could be happening in the market and see if they could implement them first. So he came up with this internet library, and he pitched it to the company like, yo, I think the way that the internet is going, that this is going to be a real thing. And they laughed at him, as most businesses do to people. You hear that in tons of stories. Best Buy laughed at Netflix. You hear that all the time. So his company laughs at him, and we know the rest is history. He quits. He starts Amazon out of his garage from a $0 company, even though he didn't have $0. His dad lent him some money. That's a whole different story. But Amazon wasn't making any money. They had $0, and now today they're worth $1.7 trillion. That has never been done in the history of man. No one has ever done that. So, how is this transition going to affect such a large company? And to be more precise as well, he in his own words said that he wants to step down so that he can have more time to attack other projects, but he still wants to keep his role, or keep a role, as an executive chair, so he can help make decisions and help the company go forward, but he won't be running the day-to-day. He won't be making the big decisions. He will be like a liaison, or what's that other word? A consultant. But I don't know. I don't know if that'll be enough. But at the same time, I know Amazon is such a large company, it'd be really hard to mess up at this point. I don't know. This is my stance on it. I think Amazon is going to remain stagnant, and it's not going to improve the way that we saw. I think Jeff Bezos was really on a tirade of expansion. And I think only because he started the company, because he knows the ins and outs, I think only he could accomplish such huge expansion. When I worked at Amazon for a short period of time, and his goal, they told us, his goal was to eventually have a warehouse every 30 minutes apart. So therefore, you could do one-day delivery, couple-hour delivery. If you order something, if that warehouse doesn't have it, like, you know what I mean? Everything is so close that we just have it. That's why you've seen so many Amazon warehouses being built. Like, I have one that's 15 minutes from me, and they're building another one that's like in the other direction, another 15 minutes from me. But all in all, they're probably 30 minutes apart from each other. So that's one of his main goals, or was one of his main goals for Amazon, so that they could do the one-day delivery, that they could maximize their profits and their potential. If you order, like, it would be the same. His ultimate goal is the same as, like, instead of you going to a corner store, like, I'm going to go get a drink and some chips, you could just order it and it'll be here in an hour or two. So, So, I think ultimately those goals won't be accomplished. If they are accomplished, maybe they just won't be as fast as they were going to be accomplished, if at all. But I think the expansion of Amazon, it will slow very, it won't be so exponential anymore. It'll be very gradual. I think that they won't be purchasing nearly as many companies. Like Amazon owns Whole Foods. They own the Wall Street Journal. And technically, Jeff Bezos owns the Wall Street Journal. I don't think he bought that with Amazon's money. I think he bought that with his money. Once again, in his own words yesterday, he said, and this, I'm going to try to memorize the quote as well as I can, or say the quote as well as I can. He basically said he wants to step down to focus on philanthropy, because he's working on this fund, or this project, like, that helps the earth. He wants to work on that. He wants to work on Blue Origin, which is his rocket ship company. If you don't know, he has so much money that he funds his own rocket ship company each year with $1 billion. But it's probably going to be more than that now, because he's not the CEO. What he would do each year is sell, like, a small percentage of his stocks to get $1 billion, and then he would fund his rocket ship company. So he wants to work on Blue Origin. He wants to work on the Earth Fund, I think is what he calls the fund to help the Earth. He said he wants to work on the Wall Street Journal, which, once again, I think he completely owns. And he said one more thing. He said other products I'm passionate about. I don't think he was too specific. So where I'm going with this is, I don't think Amazon will change too drastically. I don't think that they'll plummet, but I don't think that they'll become exponential either. And just to jump on CEOs, normally when a new CEO comes and they have a great mindset, things can and will change completely. We've seen that with WeWork. Their CEO is changing a lot. We've seen that with GameStop. A part of the GameStop, like, squeeze, and everybody thinks it'll go up, is they just got a new CEO. The CEO of Chewy, which is a dog food company, he stepped down and became the CEO of GameStop. Now he completely changed the way that Chewy operates. They became like the Amazon of dog food, of dog products, dog services, pet services. So he then became the CEO of GameStop. They marked a deal with Microsoft. They were redoing a lot of things. So that's why they were going bankrupt before, and then they got him and they got out of bankruptcy. So he was doing a lot. So what I'm trying to say is the power of the CEO means a lot. And there are instances where a new CEO can do a lot better, or a new CEO can make the company tank. And the new CEO, I don't remember his name, and I should have done more research to find his name, but I know who he is and what he does. The CEO of Amazon Web Services, which is actually the most profitable side of Amazon. Amazon Web Services, they host Netflix, they host a whole lot of companies and websites. They host about, I've read somewhere like 25 to 30% of the entire internet is hosted through Amazon Web Services. That means, like, if you don't get that means like every fourth website you get on. Think about how many websites you get on daily. Like, even if it's just your apps on your phone. Oh, you jump on Snap, and then Google, Google Chrome, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Out of all of those, at least one of those is probably hosted by Amazon. And you just think about how large those companies are. And then you get home and you jump on Netflix, hosted by Amazon. You jump on Hulu, I don't know if it is or isn't, hosted by Amazon. But the CEO of that division of Amazon Web Services, he is now going to be the CEO of the entire company. So he really, really does know what he's doing. He's not an idiot. He's been working for Amazon, they said, since like 96. So he's been a lifer. He's been in there. He's been like Jeff Bezos' number 2 for a very long time. So I don't have any like doubts that he's going to tank the company. But in my opinion, I don't think the company is going to expand as much as it was before. Like, I don't think they're going to do tons of merges, tons of acquisitions. I don't think that they're going to have the same expansion plan that they were before. That's just my opinion. He could completely blow it out the water. But let's move on to Jeff Bezos and what he's going to be doing with his money. Now, I don't know what his plan is for this Earth Fund. I hope it fights climate change. I hope it does a lot of things, because we need a lot of help on the Earth. I read like something new every day that's happening with the Earth, and I'm like, I don't know how we're going to solve all this stuff. And even more than just the people. Like, yes, there's people we have a homeless problem, not only in the United States, but all of Europe and everywhere. So that's one issue, like homelessness. Then there's world hunger. Then there's sex trafficking, and then there's not only those are just people related. Then there's things that we don't know about the ocean, things that we don't know about space and climate change and the weather, and there's just so many issues that we could tackle or / can tackle. And I don't know what his Earth Fund plans to do or where he's going to start, but I hope he invests a crap ton of money into it and it ends up really providing a lot of help. Not only that, his company, Blue Origin. Now, this is where I'm biased a little bit, but I will do my best to remain unbiased. So, his company, Blue Origin, is obviously a commercial space company, meaning that they are a company. They're not funded by the government or anything. They're a company. So normally what the model was in the past for a space company that wasn't government funded is you would try to get government funding, or you would try to get contracts with them. For example, if the United States and NASA want to go to the International Space Station, rather than them make the rockets, the private company will make the rockets, and they're just contracted with them. But where there's two avenues that I believe, and researchers believe, that space travel or the commercial space industry is headed towards. So one, that is private space flight and space tours and what they call space tourism is what they're calling it, meaning you, me, whomever, mostly rich people at first, obviously, probably for like the first 10, 15, 20 years. It's kind of like but on a bigger scale, it's kind of like when 4K TVs came out back in like 2012 and they cost $3,000, and now you can buy a 4K TV for like $300, $400 or less. So that was like an 8 or 9 year gap where it was crazy expensive, and now it isn't. It's going to be like that, where normal people like you or me can go use SpaceX, use Blue Origin, maybe use Boeing. I don't know if they're in the fight or not, but we can use those companies and do tourism on space. Just like, oh, I'm booking a flight to go to London. It's like, yo, I'm booking a flight to the moon, like to travel around the moon, and then I'll be back in a week because it takes 3 days to get there. It's going to take 3 days to get back. Oh, I'm taking a space vacation for a week. I'll be back. That is one avenue that everyone thinks is next. But two, and I was ignorant in thinking that a lot of people knew this already, but I'm a huge sci-fi and space and technology guy, so I read these things and see them on YouTube every day, and I'm like, yo, why do they keep talking about this? But I have to remember that I'm not the only person out there. Like, and a lot of people don't follow the same things I follow. I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and I was like, yo, I never even heard of that. What I'm talking about is mining asteroids. Now that sounds like some sci-fi space movie type stuff, but that's about to be a real reality soon. And why that's even important, or why that even matters, why a company or an individual would want to do that, is because the minerals and the elements that are on these asteroids are worth billions, if not tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. One asteroid has platinum on it, gold, silver, titanium, iron. So whereas in Africa and Antarctica and Europe, we're trying to mine for these minerals, you can just go to an asteroid, and you don't have to, like, what they do with the gold is they'll like find just a small plate of gold after digging all day. They'll find this much gold or this much diamond or whatever. So rather than do that, if you can get to the asteroid and mine it, you'll find heaps and heaps and heaps of this stuff. And that's just on one asteroid. There's hundreds of billions of asteroids in space. So there's soon going to be a race for the asteroid mining leader. Like, whoever can become the leader will become a very rich man in a very rich company, because once again, they'll probably get contracted by other companies. Like, hey, you mine the stuff and you sell it to us for this, or we'll buy it for this. And you know what I mean? Like, they'll get lots of contracts, and it'll be crazy. But where I was saying I'm biased is, obviously I'm a huge, if you don't know this already, I'm a huge Elon Musk fan, a huge Tesla, a huge SpaceX fanboy. So SpaceX is right now the leader in the private commercial space industry. They have most, if not all, the contracts from NASA and from other countries. If someone wants to go to space, they call SpaceX. SpaceX is going to space damn near every day now. Like, I follow them on YouTube. Every day I'm on YouTube, they go, test flight, we're going to space, this flight. Like, they do this every day now. Now, they didn't have much competition before. They did have Blue Origin, but as I just said earlier, Jeff Bezos was putting most of his time into Amazon. So now he stepped down, and he's about to have a whole lot more time to compete with Elon. And I have two mantras. I think competition breeds champions, and if you're better, you'll win. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that last one. If you're better, you will win. So we're about to see a lot of innovation happen in this industry very soon because competition breeds champions. If Jeff Bezos, instead of $1 billion, goes and throws 10 or 50, or I don't know, I'm just coming up with numbers. If he goes and funds it X amount of times, like times 2, times 3, and he comes up with some new innovation that's going to force SpaceX to come up with something, and then they come up with something, and then Jeff Bezos comes up with something. It's going to be a loop, which is great for technological innovation. But I just hope Elon can still win because I don't know. I've always been hard on Jeff Bezos because of the way he treats his employees, the way that he's always going about Amazon. He cheats on his wife. Like he's done a lot of negative things, whereas Elon just gets in quote unquote in trouble because he works too hard. Like Elon has lost relationships because he's working 100-hour weeks and he's sleeping at the Tesla facility. He's got in trouble because he's so ambitious. He'll say something could be ready by 2020 and it's not ready until 2022. So, I mean, I can admire that. I can understand why he gets in trouble for it, but I admire that. The fact that he just works so hard and he still gets in trouble for that. When in reality, he has said it several times, and people claim that he could just be lying and saying he's for the people. He could be an evil genius, whatever. People say whatever. People are going to talk regardless. But the fact that he has come out his own mouth several times and has said he doesn't care about the money. He doesn't care about the possessions. He's actually been selling all of his possessions, all his cars, all his houses, everything. Because he said there's more to life than those things, and there's more to life than just staying on this planet. He thinks that there's no way for us to survive here unless we get off. Unless we get out of here, he said there's no way for us to keep going as a civilization. So he has put all his money, all his time, everything into sustainability. That's why he's only focusing on electric cars. He's put all his effort into space travel, trying to become a multi-planet society. I was going to say interstellar, but that's something different. And like I just said, now he's going to have some competition. And hopefully within the next couple years, whether it be 1, 2, 3, or more, hopefully I have a different opinion of Jeff Bezos. Hopefully he becomes more active. Elon Musk, for example, is very active on social media, very active with his following, the people that love him. He's a meme lord, as everyone knows. So he becomes more relatable. He seems like a kid with all this money is what he becomes. Jeff Bezos kind of reminds me of Lex Luthor. He's even bald like Lex Luthor. So, I don't know. I hope over the next couple of years my opinion does change of him. I would love that. I really would. It's kind of been my thing forever. I've always looked up to these, as I talked about yesterday in episode 15, these anomalies. I've always looked up to these people that can do things that no one else has ever done. Like Bill Gates, when I was growing up, I learned about Bill Gates when I was like 9 years old, maybe like 9, 10 years old. And I always wanted to be him from that day forward because I loved computers, I loved technology, and he made all this money off the thing that I love. And I loved money too as a kid. I learned at a very early age, money got you the things that you wanted. So I became like enticed with Bill Gates. I modeled everything I did like after him. All my classes in high school, all the career path I wanted to go on. His first ever job was a software engineer. So from 12 or 13 years old, when everyone asked me, what do you want to do? I want to be a software engineer. Well, he never really had a job. He dropped out of Harvard and went right into Microsoft, but that's what he was studying to become. So, I don't know. I think we're on like the verge of like some technological innovation like back in like 2008 a lot of people don't remember this, but in 2008, a lot of things like new technology dropped. Like Blu-ray was a new thing, and it was adopted into the PlayStation 3, and that's the first year the iPhone came out, the first ever touchscreen phone. That's when laptops have always been a thing, but that's when thinner laptops started to become a thing. And 2008 kind of sparked this technology innovation as we know. And to us, it might seem slow, but if you have to look at it from like forward to back. From 2008, let's look at a 12-year gap. From 96 to 2008, besides the internet was kind of like 92, 93, 94. Besides the internet, there wasn't too many crazy things, like as far as technology that happened. Yeah, there was some new websites, new things like that, which are important, but physical technology, there wasn't anything too crazy from 96 to 2008. Maybe the iPod, TVs didn't really change much. They still had butts. They started to get flat screen TVs. Nothing. I'm trying to think, like, if you see my eyes going or my brain, you could probably see the wheels turning. I can't really think of it. I mean, PlayStation 1s and 2s. So at home systems weren't really unheard of at that time. And the games were really pixelated. Like, yeah, at the time it looked like something awesome. But looking back, the jumps in technology weren't too crazy. So now, that's from 96 to 2008. Let's look at 2008 to 2020. You went from just being able to take phone calls. Like, all we used phones for, I think a lot of people don't really remember this or give it the credit, I guess would be the word. Give texting or other services that phones offer the credit that they deserve. We only used phones for hello and goodbye. Like, pick phone calls. That's it. I remember when I was a kid, you had to pay for the internet on the I had like Nokia or some form of like a Nokia phone where you had to tap the buttons like 3 times to say A, B, C, things like that. I remember I accidentally clicked like the internet thing and I'm freaking out like, oh, I hope it doesn't charge my mom. Like, you had to pay for the internet. And it was cents, but it went on like per minute or something like that. So look at that, thinking about that. And that wasn't too, I'm not that old. That was probably like 2007 or 2008, 2009 when you had to pay for the internet. So think about the jump from 2008 to 2020. You went from paying for the internet on your phone to, and this was actually a surprising thing to me, most people use the internet solely on their phone. Now, me, I have a desktop computer, so I assume everyone gets on their desktop computer. I don't really use the internet on my phone like that, besides social media applications. But if I want to Google something, if I want to watch YouTube, I just go to my desktop. A lot of people use YouTube on their phone. A lot of people use a lot of applications. They read the newspapers and everything, read books from their phone. Me, I do that all on my real computer. But can I even say it's a real computer? The phone has become the real computer. It's more of an anomaly now that I have a desktop that I use. A lot of people have the phones. I mean, everyone has the phones. What I was trying to say is everyone uses the internet on their phones. They use their phone like it's their computer. The only thing, and some people do this, but not everyone, the only thing we don't do on phones is type essays. That's really it. But you can edit videos on there. You can obviously record videos. I mean, I use a phone to record these videos. So I think the next technological jump is coming very soon. And I think it's been halted by COVID and this pandemic and manufacturing and all that. But I think at the same time, it's made people think harder or made people have more time to think rather than being mundane and doing the same thing over and over and over. I think people have gotten the opportunity to think more and to unlock some form of potential. So I'm excited to see what's next. I really am. And I hope, I don't know if I would ever like go to Mars. I don't know if I would ever do it like how Elon is suggesting. But regardless, I'm still excited to see how the journeys go and see how these people, because it's going to be, I mean, at first it's probably going to be astronauts. Like it can't just everyone. What I mean is like regular people probably can't do the first couple missions. Even though yesterday I did see that, oh man, I don't even know the name of it, but I saw that SpaceX is partnering with someone for the first ever like commercial space flight with like regular people. There's going to be like one astronaut on there, and the rest is going to be regular people, and they're going to train them like they're astronauts. And they said that's supposed to launch no sooner than the beginning of the fourth quarter of this year. So in English, that means no sooner than like October, September of 2021. So if Elon and them are saying no sooner, then it'll probably be 2022. So I guess I have to take back what I said, because I was saying that I don't think for a trip to Mars that it could just be regular people at first. I think there needs to be astronauts that are trained for years that go in. It's a 6 to 9 month journey just to get there, and then once you get there, there's no path, there's no landscape, there's no book you can open that says, all right, this is how, like, this is what we do. This is all brand new. So we can make as many estimations and as many predictions as we want, and say, okay, when we get to Mars, we'll be able to terraform it, and it'll do this, it'll do that. We've never been there before, as far as humans. Like land rovers and little Wallies have been there, but we as humans have never been there. So, like I said before, I think this is about to spark a huge technological innovation. I think it'll more so go like this. So, the same companies that make the processors for our computers and for our phones are the same ones that make the processors and chips for these, like these land rovers and these rocket ships and all this technology that these space companies need, right? So if the space companies are ramping up because they want to do more travel and they want to do more things, then that means the production of these processing chip companies, their manufacturing will have to increase, which means I feel like I'm in my I had this one class called entrepreneurship, it was called like Innovation 410 or Entrepreneurship 410, and it becomes a cycle. It's called an innovation cycle. So to say what I said again, because the space companies want to do more. They want to do more travel. It's about to be more competition with SpaceX, and now Jeff Bezos can focus more of his time on Blue Origin. Because they're going to do more, that means the people that make their chips will have to do more processing, more manufacturing. They'll be able to not only spend more money, but get more practice to do things, get more data, and then get better at it. So that means they will build better technologies, which then they'll give to the space companies, which then they will do better, which then they will need more, and it'll become a cycle. You get where I'm going with this. And what happens out of that is disruptive technologies or technological innovations happens out of that cycle. So after that cycle repeats enough times, you see what's bottlenecking it or what's not allowing it to grow more. And either the companies will fix that or a new company happens. That's how new companies end up evolving. And then that company gets bought or they become their own thing. That's how like Netflix came about. I talked about this earlier. The people that were working for Best Buy and at Best Buy were making Netflix. They pitched it to their bosses and they got laughed at. So they saw what was bottlenecking Best Buy from expanding and really focusing on the internet side of where the world was going. So Netflix was able to capitalize off of that. Now bringing that back to, like I said, this new technological innovation jump that's going to happen because these main processing chip companies like AMD and like NVIDIA, I think there's one called Micron. So because these companies are going to be doing so much for them, it'll also help their innovation when it comes to could be PlayStations, could be like, for example, the PlayStation has an AMD chip in there, AMD motherboard and processor and chip and stuff. So they also make things for phones. That's going to increase the technological output or innovation of cell phones. So we're going to see more there. And like I did in a different talk, AR and VR, which stands for augmented reality and virtual reality, the technological components that are needed for that may come out because the processing is now heavier, or is now, for lack of a better term, better. So I personally, I went and rambled and said all of that because I truly think that that Jeff Bezos stepping down and him putting more time into Blue Origin will then create competition between him and SpaceX. Honestly, between him and Elon Musk, it's better that way. Like, yeah, the companies are competing, but honestly, they're competing. They're number 1 and 2 for the richest people in the world. So Jeff Bezos versus Elon Musk, it'll create more competition for them and their companies. And I think that will just be like a spark in the technological innovation world. Because, like I said, the only things that we've seen some companies try to come out with disruptive technologies or something brand new, like Samsung tried to fold the phones and things like that. I don't think that that's next for us. I think that's like a going backwards. We already had phones that folded, and yeah, now it won't be like you open and close it and stuff. It'll be part of the screen. I get that, but I don't think that's what's next, which is why it's not working. No one buys it. No one. It's not like a sellout. I don't think that's going to be what's next for us. But where I was going with that is we've seen, you can look at Apple, even though we all still buy their products, they haven't done anything besides the AirPods. The AirPods is the best thing that Apple's done in the last 12 years. I mean, if you look at the first iPhone and you look at the one we have now, it's the only thing that's changed is, yeah, it's a little faster. Probably a lot faster, but it's not, yeah, probably a lot faster, but there's not many crazy changes to it. If you go get the 12 or 13, I don't know what's the newest phone right now. If you go get the newest one and then go look at the original iPhone, there's not that much difference to it. We're in drastic need of something like completely different. Whereas if you look, and I know there's been a bigger time span between these comparisons, but look at the first PlayStation and the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation, if you go look at the PlayStation 1 and you go look at the pixelated little block people characters, and then you go look at the PlayStation 4 where you think you're really in the game if you go and play something like what's that Japanese game? Something Tsushima or whatever the game is called. It's like one of the biggest games right now. But that game looks like real life. And it even moves and flows like it. Look at something like GTA. If you're driving on GTA, and it really looks like you're in California. So, I don't know. I think we're in dire need of something drastic happening. And I didn't even get to really talk on this, so I'll use the last couple of minutes to talk about it. But I wanted to talk about the way that we value things, and the way that the way that the people that are in control have so much power of the way that we value things. And this relates because I want to talk more so about Jeff Bezos. If Jeff Bezos tomorrow, because he stepped down, with all his money, changed his money into, like, I don't even know, an inflation of turkey legs or something. I don't know. If I don't have an example, but if he came together with the United States and Europe and someone else, and this would be almost practically impossible, but it could happen. There's nothing that's impossible. Things are just improbable. So if he came together with them, he has $200 billion, and he has almost as much. I think they said if he was a country, he'd be like the 14th richest country, which that doesn't even make sense. But if he came together with them and said, yo, I want to set a new standard. Before there was the gold standard, and we lost that, and now I want to set the water bottle cap standard. Like, the most valuable thing someone can have is water bottle caps, or is, you guys get where I'm going. Something silly, like that's the new standard. And then it could be like it just would be if they all came together and said it is, so it shall be. Then it is, because they have all the power. Everything that we deem as valuable is created or made from the human mind. Like, if you're listening to this, you're on a cell phone. Why do they call it that? A human named it that, and they could have named it a smorgasbord if they wanted to, and we would literally be going around calling our phones, oh, yo, did you get that new smorgasbord 12? You know what I mean? Like, everything that we deem valuable or that we create is by humans. So before it was gold, and silver and platinum, now it's like diamonds and what's that other one called? What is that? People, something, what is it? Rose gold. Like, people out of the blue within the last 5 to 7 years, I've seen people have this craze with rose gold, and that just came out of nowhere because it just was deemed valuable. Same thing with these Pokemon cards, and I know that's a huge, like, left field, but if you don't know this, go look up how much, like, these original Pokemon cards are being sold for online. There was a Charizard card that got why can't I speak? There was a Charizard card that sold for like $80,000 online. It's a Pokemon card made of plastic. But if someone put value to it, then it's valuable. What if tomorrow Jeff Bezos bought all of the Pokemon cards and said, this is the new currency. This is it. I'm taking this to Mars, and if you don't bring Pokemon cards with you, I'm not letting you in. And the new currency on Mars is Pokemon cards. You guys see I'm obviously doing these extravagant and these crazy scenarios, but that's kind of how it is for money. It's green paper. But we don't look at it as it like that because where it's embedded in our head, it's ingrained that this is normal, that this is regular. So, and I kind of only harped on that or wanted to talk about it because of, like, what I said with the mining the asteroids, because people are making that a commercial space interest because of what we deem valuable here on Earth. And unfortunately, not only just the minerals and the elements that are on there, but people are thinking about using it as a war advantage as well. If I can get to the moon and set up a base before you, I could launch rockets from there or launch whatever from there. You would never even know it's coming. You don't have a radar or something out there to tell you, oh, the United States just launched their rockets from Texas. No, I'm in space, and by the time you even know it's coming, it would smack you. And that's unfortunate as well, because we deem these, I don't want to even call it a competitive advantage. That's what it is, but these war advantages we deem those as something that's oh so valuable. And this is this is its own topic by itself. But people always ask if there's some form of like extraterrestrial life, and the answer that I always hear from these scientists is they wouldn't want to come see us. That we're just savages. We're just trying to get to the moon and kill each other rather than go and explore. But I'm not going to harp on that too much. I'll open the floor for any questions. If there's no questions, I'll go for a couple more minutes. And as I always say, I will let us go and attack the day. All right. If there's no questions, I wanna just do a quick wrap up and, like I said, talk about where I think things will be going. But to wrap it up, I talked about the huge breaking news that Jeff Bezos is stepping down from. At this point, Amazon might be the richest company. Apple was for a long time. I've talked about this a few times. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, those top four literally fight for that same spot every single day. Depending on how their stock does that day, there's a new richest company. So I'm not going to call Amazon the richest company, but Jeff Bezos is obviously, as we all know, the richest man in the world, and he is stepping down from his position as the CEO of Amazon. Now that is going to throw a lot of ripples into our world because one, maybe one of the biggest companies out there will change drastically, and that will change how Walmart and all these other companies that are competing with Amazon, that might change how they move, which then changes how we have to move our world. That's one. But two, Jeff Bezos stepping down in all of the deep Mariana Trench deep pockets that he has. If you don't know what the Mariana Trench is, go look it up. Mariana Trench deep pockets that this man has could literally change the face of the world as we know it if he just wanted to go do whatever he wanted to do. Like I said, he doesn't have any venture capitalist or any people funding his rocket ship company. He funds it primarily from himself. When he owns 100% of the company, he's over the last 4 or 5 years put in $5 billion into it, and it does not affect him. So I think there's going to be some huge ripples from this landmark breaking news. And I don't think people are probably just thinking about Amazon, but not the way that it affects the rest of the society we live in. He could go and move to Australia or something and go change them and become you know what I mean, the Australian king. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But he can go do whatever he wants. It's going to have a huge effect on our society. So from there and how it affects our society, I talked about the technological innovations that are probable from coming out of this. There's going to be a boom in space travel, space technology, space production, whether it be rocket ships or satellites or just the small processes that make these spaceships run, or make the technology inside the spaceships run. There needs to be they have to have technology that helps them breathe on the spaceship, keeps oxygen in the tanks. That calls for its own technological innovation. There could be one process right now that they do it, and it costs them $10. I'm just making this up. Could cost them $10 a gallon for oxygen on the space tank. Space tank. Is that what I wanted to say? On the spaceship. So it could cost them $10 a gallon on the spaceship, and they have to have thousands and tens of hundreds of thousands of oxygen, which then costs them millions. If someone comes up with some new innovation where it costs them $1 a gallon, that saves them millions of dollars, and now they can build more rocket ships. So now that so many eyes and so many people are going to be looking at this, the technological innovations that are going to come out of this is going to spread into our everyday lives. If if one company that's making these processing chips for SpaceX and Blue Origin, if they are now working on phones as well, we'll see faster phones, we'll see faster computers. So then the phones and the computers are able to do more. And because they're able to do more, we can do more. Because we can do more, we have more time to invent more. Because it's a cycle. Because we invent more, now they can do more. So I think the next boom is coming. And from there, I talked about what things that we look at as valuable. And I didn't really get to dive too deep into it, but I think that we need to look more so at working together as valuable. If we all, and I know this is just a pipe dream, this is a utopia, but if we all, not just the United States, when I say all, not just black and white, I mean all, people from Switzerland working with the United States, working with Canada, working with Mexico and Argentina, where if we all came together and just worked, we could literally probably get to Mars in the next 2 years. But like I said, it's looked at as competition, not as teamwork. Who can get there first? China, Russia, a private company like SpaceX or Tesla, or I said Tesla, or Blue Origin. So I think that's something that we should look at as more valuable, but we don't. And that's a utopian-based thinking. So we will definitely see how this landmark breaking news affects our society, and I think it's going to literally bring ripples. Like, it's going to be like a tsunami. Whereas maybe Jeff Bezos' existence before was just like a regular high and low tide, I think it's about to be a tsunami. And that is how I will end it. So once again, this was the Duron Cole's Morning Show, episode 16. What is next for Amazon? Today is Wednesday, February 3rd, and I am the Duron Coles. You can follow me on all social media platforms at the Duron Coles, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you find yourself. I'm probably there too as at the Duron Coles, and I will see you guys tomorrow for episode 17. Peace.